Good to go. Everything's set.
All right, Melma, can you tell me a little bit about the work that you do?
A lot of the work that's relevant to the kinds of questions that you're asking starts with work in the 1970s, establishing a rape crisis center in another state, and then moving through running nonprofits serving adults with disabilities, getting a master's degree in counseling psychology, a law degree, becoming an attorney, working for 20 some odd years as in my legal field, and now in my retirement working as a social activist. I think the main concept of boundaries that I engage in are how not to be overly controlling or making decisions for the populations that I hope to serve. And so my method of employing boundaries is to be invited in, to listen, to ask questions, to ask the population that I'm serving to tell me what their wants and needs are, and that I am addressing that. I'm not acting on my own interests, my own power. I have to really switch the framework, and so that for me that's boundaries for me. And then I think the other part of the boundaries in social work for me is that I'm really careful about being too personally involved in their lives, or them getting too personally involved in my life. I mean, I really am there for very specific purposes, to advise, to consult, to give them resources, guidance, direction. But I have to be really thoughtful about the fact that I'm going to go back to my own space, and they're going to go back to theirs. I'm a big advocate of knowing what burnout is, and taking care of yourself, because I experienced burnout when I was doing my rape crisis work. I worked 24 hours a day as an advocate, going to hospitals and police stations and picking up victims from their homes, and it was very intense work for a period of years. And I collapsed in a state of exhaustion, was taken to an emergency room, was diagnosed with exhaustion, and it took me over a year to recover physically. The fundamental characteristic of burnout that I learned was that you lose perspective. So as soon as you start to really not be able to genuinely serve the person that you're working with, and you lose perspective, and you feel like you have to, for example, take care of them beyond the scope of your responsibilities, or that you are so frustrated with the system that is surrounding and supporting that individual that you start blurring the lines on your role and becoming so acutely frustrated that you cannot really be present and represent to that person. Those are some signals that you've lost, you're burning out. So it's a loss of perspective, really. That's what happens, I think. I think that what I would recommend social workers to do when they come into their environment is to understand what the policies and practices are of the clinic that they're working for, because they really do need to operate within those structures. But I think that they also need to be advocates, so that not all policies are perfect, and they don't necessarily stay relevant. And so I think they have to know both. They have to know what they are, because they create structure and consistency within the environment, and they're important, but they also they can be challenged.